Yeah, we've had one a few years ago. It was actually over where they had a Civil War battle, and there was a bloody footprint in the floor. And the customers would literally want us to sand around this footprint because it was from the Civil War, and it was like a younger. It wasn't an adult, so it was more of a kid. So what happened, I have no idea. But we couldn't do that. We still sanded over it, and I'll be damned if the bloody footprint still didn't come back. But it's the stories that a floor will tell is pretty wild. So.
Welcome to All Things Wood Floor, brought to you by Wood Floor Business. This episode sponsored by the nation's fastest growing hardwood flooring distributorship, Horizon Forest Products. Our guest, Aaron Sheaves, Sheaves Floors, Stanton, Virginia. This man was born into the business. He has family in flooring. Aaron's only partner today is his mother, Darlene. He only sands with a rotary sander, no big machine, and his business is booming via Sheaves Floors at TikTok. My fellow floor pros around the world, let's welcome one of our own, Aaron Sheaves, to All Things Wood Floor. Let's get to it. It's Sheaves Flooring LLC, right, in Stanton, Virginia?
Correct.
Okay, welcome to All Things Wood Floor. We might as well just roll with it.
I appreciate being here. Thanks for the invite.
Cool. Yeah, you and I got talking about a bunch of stuff. You had this thing about sanding between balusters and rails and stuff with a pneumatic sander. What was that exactly?
An El Cheapo tool I found at Harbor Freight, just an orbital air sander. I've upgraded them now, so you can get a little bit nicer ones on Amazon. They're kind of hard to find local, like a box store, even a hardware store. And just one day I just seen that small thing and didn't have much sandpaper with it. So I was like, well, let's buy this. It's like $30 at the time.
Did you cut your own paper?
Oh, yeah. Just a pair of scissors right there.
Is it Velcro or how do you stick? Is it bolt on? How do you do that?
Oh, it's got the hook and loop. So I just use like hook and loop paper on the Velcro pad. And I can change out, inch head, 2-inch head, 3-inch head, whatever I want, whatever will fit in between the balusters.
So for those listening, you're using it's like an auto body sander grinder, but they're like, what is that? Like an inch and a half, 2 inches? It's very small.
That's the thing. The ones I got now, you can get different heads on them. So you can get 1 inch, 2-inch, 3-inch. You can get all different ones. So
yeah, so you hook it to your compressor to just max it out at like 120, 140 and just...
No, you actually want to turn it way down to like 80 or 90 PSI.
Oh, okay.
If you got it turned way up, it'll actually throw the paper off of it. You won't keep it.
Well, it's all paddle drive too, right? It's almost like when you see a dentist drill, you put it in the space, zip, 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 and you can spin it out there. I had one. I just started working with it. It's a lot like doing auto body work, but to be able to have a sander that powerful with the paper that you want, and you get right between ballast rails and nulls. I was just on a job site, and I hadn't been on one in years. I mentioned your article, and I brought it up on my phone. And one of the guys ran out and grabbed one. That's a really cool idea. You got any other crazy equipment that you're experimenting with?
Oh, not here lately, but as soon as we get done with this, then it'll all come back to me, and I'll remember what I was doing.
We're always trying to find. I remember back when we would pound out our own discs, with the disc template and cut our own stuff out, until finally the price of discs came to where it was better to just buy a box of them and not be beating your own discs. But what's your makeup today? Are you 100% out in the field working or selling, or what are you doing?
So it's actually, we're a small business, so it's just me and my mom. That's all it is, just mother and son team. So I handle the work phone, doing the estimates, emails, things like that, getting the jobs, and then do the work. And then mom also comes out and helps with the work itself, and then she handles all the bookkeeping and everything on that side of it. So we keep it small. We usually stay booked out 2 to 3 months. We're in a pretty rural area too, so there's not a whole lot of people where we live, and the average job is 45 minutes to an hour away. So,
where's Stanton or where's Cave? Where's that?
It's the middle of nowhere. It's on a map. It's not even gonna pop up on a map, I don't think.
It didn't recently get flooded like everybody else. Hopefully, you're okay down there.
No, we didn't get. We had a bunch of rain. I think we got 15 or 16 inches of rain in like those 3 or 4 days, but nothing really flooded too awful bad. A lot of trees down, but we're actually in the Shenandoah Valley, so we're about 2.5 hours from DC.
Okay,
and then Charlottesville takes me about an hour to go across the mountain and get to that city.
Okay,
so just out of the way, but I guess still somewhat convenient.
My mother-in-law had when I started my flooring company, we had a big barn built in 1865, and she had a gift shop in the barn. And I used to get more work because she was the only person answering phones. They had just come up with like the recorder and you could leave a message. And she would say, these people want you because I'm the only one that answered the phone. And she would do that for me all day. Does your mom answer the phone and pick up calls for you?
No, I literally have it on my voicemail now that I do not call anybody back until the end of the day after we are working.
Okay. Hey, yeah, you say that. Before all this stuff, they used to call my dad Johnny Three Rings. We'd be in some stranger's house, and my guys would be like, your father's calling. I go, how do you know it's my father? Because he rings 3 times and he hangs up. Then he rings 3 times and he hangs up. So I would go pick up the phone, and sure, he'd go, I got a customer that needs to talk to you. I'm like, we're sanding floors. So you're right. Cut them off. Well, you can cut them off.
I'll call everybody back every evening when we get done. To me, there's no such thing as a floor emergency.
Right.
It can wait till that day. We're working. I got to get stuff done, but I always get back to everybody at the end of the day.
I did an inspection last week, and it was heated, and I'm like, folks, I've been doing this. Like you said, you did this when you were born. I started when I was like 20. We haven't lost a patient yet, people. Come on. They're screaming at each other over a buff and coat, and I want a hotel, and I want you to pay for my kids' college, and I want, it's like, please, we can do this. Listen. Beautiful, expensive water-based finish. You go shopping, come back, you can walk in this in your stocking feet. You won't smell it tomorrow. You can start putting your furniture back. It's come a long way from the 4-hour oils that didn't cure for 3 months,
Yeah, I don't really miss those days.
You had family, you must be coming in at such a young age because you've been in this from the womb. So how did you get into it? When did you get into this?
So it was originally my mom and dad's business. They started in, I think, 1993 after he got out of the military. And then, like I said, it was all gym floors. That's all they did. So when I got into it, so I was like 8, 9 years old, I would go out and help them in the summer times, laying finish on gym floors, or we used to screen and recoat them all the time, sand and finish them, paint lines, whatever. So that's where I got my start about that age. And then as the years progressed and moved forward, then they started moving more into residential and then got into doing all types of flooring, not just hardwood. So there was a time we did everything from carpet, vinyl, tile, showers, you name it. And then now it's just with lack of, getting people to work, and it's everywhere. Yeah. And it's just easier for us to do it ourselves. And then we stay just bombarded with just mainly sand and finishing. I'd be fine just doing that all the time. The older I get, the less I enjoy install.
People would ask, I used to say I like install, but you know what? The more you talk to flooring people, 90% say they'd rather be out sanding and finishing. Now, a lot of them are like, they want unfinished wood to be installed, so they get the install, so they get the sanding, so that it's a good week's pay in there, or however long it takes. But that makes sense that you'd rather be behind the big machines.
Yeah, I don't miss the install, and I mean we do some, but not a whole lot. So I don't like carrying them. Every install I get, sanding job, it don't matter. Everything's upstairs. It seems everything's got to be carried upstairs. All the wood, so it just gets real old real quick.
Are you hauling big drum sanders, or you got something you can break down at this point? Because I can't lift those monster machines anymore. I got to break them down.
Oh no! Well, here I get a lot. I used to catch a lot of hate. I don't even run a big machine anymore.
Oh yeah.
I am strictly just planetary sanders.
How did you make the leap? Because I found there were cases where I was able to do an entire floor with a rotary machine, and then there were sometimes I had to bring in the machine for like a cut or two. How's it working for you?
When we run power drives. That's what the ones we have.
Sure. Yeah.
And when we first got it, we brought it in. We'd only use it like for the final pass. We didn't really get the whole concept at the time. And I mean, we're 8+ years ago, probably. I mean, it's been a while.
Wow.
And then one day it just kind of clicked. I'm like, all right, let me see what this thing can really do. Once they come out with the weight kits and stuff and putting the weights on there.
Steelies and
yeah. Originally they told you not to put like 36 grit paper on the bottom of it, but I was like, well, hell with it. Let's see what it'll do. And once I started doing that, I mean, I could bring in that one machine and just do everything from start to finish. And now we're doing entire pre-finished floors from start to finish and removing the bevel and all. So. And I got a ton of videos on TikTok proving it. So it's not like I'm making any of this up. It's just, people underestimate what these tools can do now.
You can really do some serious work with a rotary sander. How close are you getting to like the base trim?
About an inch. So
how do you clean that up?
So, and I mean, Depends. We do a lot of old ones too. So even heart pine. So usually I have to run an edger at least once most of the time, and that's it. But like any new installs, we can do just power drive and the Festool orbital and be done.
Right.
I
Okay.
do power staircases with nothing but the Festool.
And that covers your vacuum system too. Are you running the Festool vac to the rotary machine, or do you have a bigger vac?
I've got bigger vacuums.
That's what I figured. Okay. Yeah, because if you're trying to pull 36 grit out of there, I think that'd be a little tricky, but
It's going to fill up real quick.
isn't it amazing how much we've eliminated the dust? Like when I started, if you screened the floor, you screened the poly, you just had powder everywhere. And if you didn't, your boss would be like, you gotta grind this, brand new 100 grit screen, 80 grit screen. And one day I'm like, this is all poly. Why are we grinding it out of here? And they've backed that up. Now they use, Norton discs and strips and everything else. It's just so different how much we're eliminating it, and how much when people say, well, it's not completely dustless. Listen, dude, it's way better than what we used to do.
Yeah, I mean, with all the vacuums, just the technology and everything now, it's just how clean you can keep a job site. It's crazy compared to what it was just 10 years ago, much less going back 30 or 40 years.
Did you do the restoration where they had the servant's bell and the holes in the floor?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I did. I got to take him
I think that's where I read that. I wanted to talk to you. Okay, so get this. I've sanded floors and gone, oh, crap, I just cut their cable TV off, right? You're edging along and you go, hey, when was this coaxial cable here? You mentioned you found a hole in the floor that went to a servant's bell. And I think in the article you said, we never found the foot pedal, right? Is that familiar?
Yeah, the wire and everything was still intact in the floor, in the hole, but the button was actually gone. We couldn't find that.
You know why? Because 99% of those, and I've seen them, they weren't there. The wire came up to a little hook, and you'd have a decorative wooden knob with a button on it. And they would grab it like a remote control, and they would click like this. And down in the servants' quarters, it would say bedroom, living room, bathroom, dining room, whatever. And each room had one, and the wire came through the floor. It usually went by their chair, and they would click it. So it wouldn't have been typically a button on the floor. It would have been a wooden knob somewhere in the house in a drawer somewhere. So that's good. I'll send you some pictures. But what was that project? That was really cool.
Oh, it's kind of funny you bring that one up. I got to head over there after we get off this and drop him off another gallon of stain. He was to make some thresholds, but that was historic home in downtown Stanton. I cannot remember the name of the architect off the top of my head, but he did quite a few of them around here. Kind of a big deal, and just how his entire homes were set up. That's where it had like the staircase leading all the way up. I had the pictures shooting down through the top just to show how big this place was. I mean, it's just crazy, all original floors and everything. So
what was the floor system? Is it like up here in New England where they'd put the cheap stuff on the second floor, like fur, and all the good stuff downstairs, or was it?
It's going to depend more of the time period of the house.
Okay.
So some could be heart pine throughout. Then later they put like white oak rift and quartered on the main level, and then upstairs they put heart pine or yellow pine. It just kind of depends on what the year the home was built around here.
Okay.
Then kind of determined what they did.
Was that the one with heart pine?
The one with the Butler bell you're talking about, that was actually all white oak.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's almost period for that too. That makes a lot of sense. And when we talk about these things, if anybody that listens to the podcast just goes to Wood Floor Business and there's a search bar and they just put Aaron Sheaves, all your stuff, it'll come up in order. Everything you've written, everything you've put through, every photo, because you got some really cool stuff in there, including that's a Firebird in your driveway, 68.
It is.
I almost said 67, but that's cool. Yeah, is that another passion for you besides flooring? Is it cars?
I like them. I don't like it as much as I used to. That was a project car me and Dad did when I was a kid, and it took like 5 or 6 years to get it done. But now it's to the point every time I take it out, go ahead and plan on bust out another 1,000 because something's going to break. I got a heavy foot, so I like to go.
Right.
See what it's going to do. But
you a car like that, you don't put it in the local parade and in idle. No,
you don't. No, so
it doesn't even want that. It needs to be driven. Did you say was your dad? Did he do flooring, or was it the carpet and the vinyl and tile? Or who's Larry? Is Larry your grandfather?
He is. He helped me on the job that you had just mentioned about. I used to get him out periodically to help sand, like run the power drive.
Okay.
Another benefit of those sanders where, any age can really run those. But that's my granddad. So my dad's name is Jeff. So he's the one that started it. But yeah, he did all the same stuff with us: install, sand, finish, everything. So
Is your father in the business today or no? He's on.
no, he is not. He works for a distribution company now.
In flooring or something totally different?
In flooring.
So you had Larry's your grandfather, and he helped you. Your father is still in the industry, and you're out there. How many? It's just you, right? Do you have help every now and then, or no? It's just you.
Just me and my mom. That is it.
No, I got you.
Whatever me and her can do, and that is it. And then there's weeks I just do other jobs by myself. Like for some reason, I get a ton of steps to sand and refinish old ones. I can do them by myself. Give her a break. So
Good.
Try to give her as much time off as I can.
We were talking about Festool, et cetera. You got, I think, a couple of years ago from Wood Floor Business, most organized, right? You got an award for that for your van?
Yeah.
Did you build shelving for that and everything, or did you buy that?
No, I built the whole thing to fit everything that I personally have. Literally, the shelves go up around the vacuum and the big machine that I keep in there, even though I don't use it much, but it's still in there in case. But yeah, to fit all the Festool boxes, hang the cords, batteries, you name it. I kind of went all out. I'm pretty OCD when it comes to that and keeping the van inside, cleaning inside and out.
I bet you 99% of our industry guys will read an article like that, and it just pisses you off because you're so jealous. You're like, I wish. I as a distributor, helping load people's vans when they come in, et cetera, almost all of them are a disaster. The wood's on top of the vacuum wand, and the wand's on top of the vacuum, and on top of that is their paper, and then there's half a bucket of poly ready to spill. And then I see a van like yours, and I'm like, we all could have a van like that, and it would last about a day. Yours look pretty sharp.
It still looks like that right now if you went up there and looked at it. So everything's got a spot. That's where it's got to be. If not, it's not going to be good.
Well, it's so cool to be able to have the paper and the little drawer. And people go on Wood Floor Business and look at this, but everything that you had, did you have the battery charger station and all that?
They're just battery holders.
Yeah, battery holders. Where do you get those? So you had all the little extra, like DeWalt, Milwaukee, Makita batteries, all in little hooks. Where'd you get those?
Oh, Amazon.
That's
easy. It's like $10 for two of them or something. You buy however many you need and just put them up there and hang them up.
Some people will get like they make metal racking. I guess that's all fitted up for the van. I like what you did. You built it because then you can screw extra things in and put them where you want them.
Oh yeah, I still got all the old metal shells we bought to put in the thing, sitting in my enclosed trailer because I can't virtually give them away because nobody wants them. They're loud, annoying, rattling around. They're not set up how you want. I've got almost two of everything on that van at any given time.
Wow.
Because where we work, it's not like I can run right back and go get something else. If something breaks, I'm 2 hours from everything.
Ooh.
So my closest distributor is 2 hours away, any direction. So I always got to be stocked up and prepared for everything. Yeah,
I do floor surgery now, but sometimes it's 2 or 3 hours away. And I will go someplace and buy 5 times what I need and just ask them, can I bring this back if I don't use it? Because if I don't bring extra, you never know. And I'm out in the middle of nowhere working by myself. And, you don't have a helper to run out and get things and keep you going. So it takes so much more time. So obviously being better organized is going to help you out tremendously, I would assume.
Oh, yeah. Just even that, all the finish and trim and sandpaper and everything else I got to keep at my house, which I got a big shop behind my house I built and just moved everything here. So it's just all right at my disposal. So,
I was looking at, you did the maple and walnut wavy floor, right?
I did.
Yeah. So if you look in the magazine, there's this maple and walnut like wavy floor that you did, and it looked like you were either cutting radiuses or bending or curving or whatever you were doing. But did you know it was going to lift off the page like that? If you walk into the room with this floor, it doesn't look like a flat floor with curvy features. It looks like a flag in the breeze coming up off the floor.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was actually going to do that. In my mind, I envisioned something else, and then once I got it done and installed, other people would come over and look at it, and they couldn't even handle walking in there because they didn't know where to step because it looked like it was going up in the air. And it took me a long time before I really started to notice what they were seeing just because I kept staring at it all the time. So,
did the people that you put it in for, or was this for you, know that this was going to happen?
It's actually in my house. It's in the bedroom back here. So, yeah, it was just one of them first wild, crazy floors I wanted to do. So just to see how it would turn out and everything else. So I probably did that one 8 or 9 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it took about 6 months. I bent all those pieces. So I had to make like a piece a day downstairs in the basement before I finished that.
So I used to do some bending. You can steam a bend, you can heat a bend, you can index, laminate it, press it, kerf it. Were these one end of the room to the other full length that you indexed together, or you put strips together?
Yeah.
How long were those things? It looked like there was no end joint on those, was there?
No, they're all solid pieces. So all the wood I had to get was like 15, 16 feet long.
How wide was the room?
I think like 13 and a half, 14 feet, somewhere around there. But I just wanted to make sure I had enough because all the bends it had in it. You know, everything was bent, so nothing was cut or anything like that.
Yeah, am I right? Is it maple and like American walnut?
Yeah.
Okay. So each row is a series of S curves. They all look to be about the same, and it goes maple, walnut, maple, walnut, maple, walnut. Did you have to tongue and groove them, or you just glued them, or are they solid? They're all strips that you've bent into probably a plywood frame.
Yeah, they're all solid strips glued back together, so regular 3/4. I think I actually run it through a planer and took it down to 5/8 because I ended up stapled in Luan back there because I'm actually kind of tired of looking at it, and I'm going to tear it out and do something different.
Right.
Because I'm always bored and want to try something different. But yeah, they were solid pieces and just glued back together and bent in a frame form downstairs. And I had them laid all out through there, sitting on pallets until I got them all done, and then literally cut the entire room downstairs in the basement, and then brought the pieces up here when I installed them and just fully glued them.
So you kind of laminate them, but I know I was talking to Kent Rogerson. He just made this full 90-degree radius, and he said same thing. He cut, I think there were like 3/16 strips, enough out of that wood to make it wide enough that they could then cut it. And he bent it in a frame, and you glue every one of them, and you press them. And then do you have to put them in some type of paper or something so they're not sticking to everything that you're gluing?
So once the boards were originally 6 inches wide,
okay.
Every one of them.
Yep.
So I just kept ripping them into 1/8-inch strips. Then after I did that, I had tables built. So imagine running a 16-foot piece board through a table saw by yourself. I had tables on both sides. Just trying to help with that. Then I would take them from that point, after I had them all back in order, over to a belt sander on a table and run them through a belt sander. So I had them all perfectly, exactly 1/8 inch or whatever size it was. Then I took them over to the table. I would take like the shrink wrap, cover the table first, lay the pieces out, glue them, put them back together real quick. Then I would wrap the boards with the shrink wrap real quick.
Okay.
But you had to be pretty fast about it. And then put it in the form, and then, crank it down where it needed to be. And then I just let it sit there overnight, each piece.
It takes about 7 hours to overnight. That would make sense. And then you plane them, because it must have glue all over the place. And
oh yeah, and then after that was done, and then getting the rest of the shrink wrap off, and then run them through the planer, and then that's where I would get them down to like the 5/8 thick, just flattening out both sides.
Do you like index it? Do you try to line up the grain as you're pressing it, or does that even matter once you put them all back together? Because when you bend it, they're going to slip, right? They're going to slide.
Yeah, they're going to move a little bit, but for the average person to notice it, they're not going to pick up on that.
No.
But yeah, I would literally have lines across, 45 on the board a couple different ways before I ever start cutting it, just so I can make sure I lined everything back up so that same design was still there. And then same thing, right when you put them all together to glue, just make sure all the lines were back where they needed to be. But then once I, clamped it down in place, they moved a little bit, but not a whole lot.
How thick? So. How thick was the floor? 3/4, or was you planed it down to 5/8?
Yeah, I planed it down to 5/8. Like I said, I stapled a layer of Luan in there over top of the plywood, so in case I ever wanted to tear it back up, I would be taking that with it, so I wouldn't be ruining the plywood underneath.
So how did you put the actual the S curves that you made? How did you put those onto the Luan? Spread and glue the thing? Or did you actually nail it, or how did you install that part? Oh,
so I just full glue a section. I would do a couple feet at a time, and then I brought the form back up here into the room, up against it, and then had like a system where I could jack it back tight just to hold everything till it would set up. And I would do a couple feet at a time.
What was the total square feet?
Maybe 250 on that one. Not a whole lot. It felt like 3,000 once I started getting into it. Just as long as it took to do it all. So, but it was a good learning experience. I could do it now way faster and way better. So,
this podcast is brought to you by Horizon Forest Products. With over 75 years of industry experience and one of the most comprehensive inventories of pre-finished and unfinished hardwood flooring, floor equipment, abrasives, finishes, fasteners, and accessories, Horizon Forest Products is now proud to span the entire East Coast and Texas. The company's large footprint allows them to serve customers from Maine to Florida and Texas with the same high-quality products and exceptional customer service that has made them one of the fastest-growing hardwood distributors in the United States. Horizon Forest Products loves its customers, and it shows. Visit their website at horizonforest.com to learn more. Now let's get back to our conversation with lifelong wood floor pro and TikTok celebrity Aaron Sheaves.
You were able to tap into social media pretty heavily from what I can see between your online stuff and stuff in the magazine. What are you doing with social media right now?
Very little to none on Facebook other than
But TikTok, right?
Yeah, TikTok's a big one. Instagram behind that. But TikTok, I don't know. Originally, it just started off as me just getting on there watching entertainment purposes. Then I seen a bunch of flooring people on there, and they'd post stuff. So every once in a while, I'd post something. Biggest thing at first was like a tool or a trick. I started out doing that. Did okay. And then certain jobs. And then I had, his name's on TikTok, it's Matt Fix It. He'll talk back and forth with me. He's like up in Delaware. Got a pretty funny page. And he told me to try to do a voiceover on one of the jobs, just try to explain what we're doing, like, and then start to finish. And then all of a sudden I started doing that. And then that's when, I had videos just going up into the millions of views all the time, getting a bunch of followers and the views and just everything else. And I get a lot of work off of it too. It was really surprising. I get more work off TikTok than I do Instagram, any other social media, all of them combined.
What is the process? A lot of people don't know how to, you hear all the stories about TikToks and kids and their games, but how do you launch the type of business that you're doing and get known? How does it all start with TikTok?
That is a good question. All it's going to take is one good video. You get lucky and it goes viral.
Yep.
Mine happened to be, I made a video, the floor of the year I sanded for Wayne Highlander, where he won floor of the year in his.
Yep.
I did a video on that job. The first one I posted didn't do very good. So I waited a couple months and I did it again in a different way, a different format. And then all of a sudden it just took off, and every one of them kind of took off from that point on. It's just, you got to find a style of video that's going to work for you. Unfortunately, for some reason, people like my Appalachian accent when I get on there and talk. Yeah. So if you got just little things like that, I guess kind of just throw in there with it, just kind of a perfect combination of everything. I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of other ones way bigger than me, but I try to keep my page completely professional and everything else. Like I said, I get a ton of work off of it. And traveling to jobs 3 or 4 hours away. And they're paying big money for me to come down there and do it because they can't get nobody else to do it.
That's something.
Yeah. To me, I feel like when I listen to myself talk, I don't like listening to it, but everybody else does for some reason. I've had comments on there. I need to be reading audio books or whatever else. I just kind of laugh and giggle on myself. Yeah, I don't see that. But a lot of people comment just on how the video is. And a lot of people like it, how I do them from start to finish too. Instead, you don't break them up into 14 different parts. Every once in a while I have to, depending on how huge the job might be. But I try to do every video, like a particular job, start to finish, all in one. Explain what's going on. And I tell them what the price is at the end of it. I have nothing to hide. So a lot of people appreciate that.
What's the process? Do you do this just solely off your phone? Okay, load a video, put it on, and then it must go to a category so people can go, oh, flooring or something.
I have no idea how the algorithms work on TikTok. No idea. But I have an old iPhone that's not hooked up to cell service or nothing. I use that actually to make all the videos. So I'll have it on a stand during the day.
Sure.
Just like recording certain things or a time-lapse video. And I'll film certain things on the entire job, but I won't throw a video together till after the job's done, sometimes months later when I get around to doing it. So some of them I can throw together pretty quick. Other ones, it takes a while depending on how I want to do the video.
Do you do edit? You like add music and things and all this other fluff, or do you just throw it out there? Here's my video.
No, I do the whole video, do the voiceover, and then I always kind of add in some kind of background music of some sort. So it's just not so bland and plain and listen to me talk constantly. So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but
no, that's fascinating. So
just extra money you can make off of it too. There was something I never planned to start happening. So
okay, then what's the process? So now you get it out there. Can you monetize that to where they say, "Hey, you got a lot of hits. Here's a couple bucks," or you're mostly using it to attract people that say, "Hey, can I talk to you about doing work for me?"
Both. I make money on TikTok, and I don't even plan to do it. I just get paid.
How do they do that? I don't know how they do that.
No idea. I don't know where the money comes from. People ask me, but I hate to know. Like, you open the app now, and like, there's always going to be some kind of like ad for a movie or something. I'd hate to know what they pay to do that. That goes out to everybody's phones,
right?
But you get paid per 1,000 views is how mine works. So.
Okay.
And like a certain RPM, so a certain dollar amount per 1,000 views. But I mean, I'm not afraid to tell anybody, but on average, I might post like 2 or 3 videos a week, and I get close to like between $2,000 and $3,000 a month.
Wow. Okay. That's good. That's
just extra money, buy more locations, do whatever. So like, it's pretty neat.
Did they just do fund transfer?
Oh, yeah. And same thing on YouTube. I know some other ones that's on YouTube make a decent amount of money. Wasn't planning on it, but TikTok's been the good one for me. I'm not even really on YouTube or nothing else. One's enough. If I had somebody else to help me with the videos and how I wanted to do them, it could probably get pretty wild. But I ain't got but so many hands to use.
Yeah.
So I just make the videos I can, how I can.
Well, yeah, I hear you. I jump on Instagram, but I find myself more fascinated with the people on there than me posting my stuff. You get stuck. I'll get on there for hours, and I'll be like, wow, I've been on this thing for hours. There's some fascinating stuff on Instagram.
Yeah, between that, I've learned more on TikTok than I ever did in school. And that's sad to say.
It's a sad thing.
How educational it can be.
That's amazing. Well, see, this is good because you're just cut from the cloth of every other hardwood floor guy in the country, and a lot of them are probably deathly afraid of technology. And you look how you tripped over it. It just seems to be very simple, and you get your message out there. People get to look at your work, boom, and you get exposure. And it's great. That's why you can work by yourself.
Yeah, and I fought it for a long time. I did not want any parts of any of the social media, and then Dad was the one pushing me, to do more of that, kind of promote the business. And then, honestly, ever since I started doing that a few years ago, it's really turned into something else and really grew and gotten bigger and bigger. So, just a buildings you got to work in, go see people you got to work with. Like, I've worked with Spriglin a couple times, been in the Supreme Court, did the Switzerland Embassy. Just the people you meet and everything through the years is just wild. So.
That's been the best part of my career in the last several years, is Kent Rogerson and you and Spriglin and Matt Garcia and Liz Emlock and all these people, because I'm so New England centric, and it was all 2 1/4 strip here and there, whatever, and then you'd have to beg to put a border or something in. And then you get to meet these people from around the world, and you know what? They cannot wait to share what they do with people. They'll invite you to come and help out. They'll come on down and we'll put you to work for the day. And these really cool, fascinating projects. I remember I was talking to, I think there was somebody, and they were doing Madison's home down in Virginia. And I said, what about the spots on the floor and those black marks? Do you have to cut those out? He goes, whoa, no, we're not even allowed to touch those. That is ink. The same ink from the same quill from the same bottle that's on the Declaration of Independence. I'm like, well, see, that's a cool floor story. We don't get too many, brush with greatness floor stories.
Yeah, we've had one a few years ago. It was actually over where they had a Civil War battle, and there was a bloody footprint in the floor.
Wow.
And the customers would literally want us to sand around this footprint.
Wow.
Because it was from the Civil War, and it was like it wasn't an adult, so it was more of a kid. So what happened, I have no idea.
Right.
But we couldn't do that. We still sanded over it, and I'll be damned if the bloody footprint still didn't come back. But just the stories that a floor will tell is pretty wild. So
yeah, I always want to have a podcast called The Floor Always Tells the Story, because when I was first starting out, I would do some consulting, and I had some experts that were helping me. They'd say, stop being so nervous, because listen, the floor tells the story. If you can figure that out, there is really no right, no wrong, no arguing. No, you'll get to the facts. And I tell that when I go to do an inspection and people are ready to point fingers, and I go, just please, I've never been in your home. Let me just look at the floor. And it does tell you. And it gives you a lot of cachet, because these people don't know you, and you tell them more about their floor in their house than they've ever known. And then they know, boy, this person knows their stuff. That's a good message. The floor always tells a story.
Oh, yeah, you could definitely do a whole other podcast with just that. Every floor man's got a ton of stories on certain floors.
Oh, yeah, those are the best. I wanted to write a book years ago, and I said, I'll just interview all the guys in the industry that have one good story or whatever. We wound up using them in podcasts, using them in Wood Floor Business Magazine, putting them all over the place. It's still a valid concept. But some of you guys, the stuff that you do, and I love the collaboration. I think that is the great. I love hearing that you were just working with Sprig or somebody somewhere. I think Fino from Fino Officio said to me, when you're very good, and you meet other people that are very good, all that goes away. You want to share. When you're at the bottom rung, you're afraid of your competition. You don't want them to know your flaws. You want to be better than them. It's very competitive. Nobody wants to talk. But when you're on that higher level, you're very open to hearing that. And I think Sprigg said he was working with a team of about 40 of the best guys in that big project he just did at the Department of Justice. And he said, you got 40 of the best guys in the world, and everyone will look over your shoulder and go, I wouldn't do it that way. So maybe it's okay we don't all do it the same way. It'll come out. The floor will come out okay.
Yeah, no, and I spent some time with Fino and his wife. We was on that Lawler flying stand a couple weeks ago. Yeah, so I was with them for about a week and a half. So, yeah, he's a pretty funny guy to be around.
They're a hoot. So when you're doing the flooring that you're doing every day right now, what is the typical day? You already got everything. When do you book stuff? When do you have time to book work?
Usually I might handle that in the evenings when I get home. Just kind of depends, Some weeks we may not book anything, and other ones we might book, 3 months all in one day. Just kind of depends. But average work week, the first half of the week's usually rough, but again, just depends on the job itself. This one here is just more of a kind of a larger repair we're doing this week, and I just happen to be done with both coats today and just waiting for those to dry, and I'll go back and finish it tomorrow. But then there's other weeks I'm wondering how the hell are we going to get this done in 4 or 5 days. So
wow,
every job is different. So
I've seen in your photos you do a lot of heart pine. Is it because you like it, or is there a lot where you are?
There's a lot where we are located.
I've had some up here in my career, but you know what? It's always been tricky. It seems like over 75, 80 degrees, it starts to weep. We have to coat it. Sometimes we used to have to wash it with thinner. It's a tricky little floor chemistry-wise, right?
Kind of depends what was previously on the floor, never not knowing what somebody put on them. So, we've had some put water-based finish on, absolutely total disaster. Yeah. Have to re-sand it just because whatever contaminants was in the wood, whatever they cleaned it with, anything else, it just ruined the finish. It's been quite a few years since one happened. We try not to have that happen, but it does happen.
Well, I did the house and it came out fine, and then a week later we did the other half of the house and it was 90 degrees out, and we used oil sealer, oil poly, which we had always used. Everything was fine, and the next morning we went back and the knots had weeped through sap right up through and ate through the poly. It was simple. We just cut it back with a screen, washed it with mineral spirits, and jumped right on it with a good finish. It was fine, but it seemed like that higher temperature brought sap out of the thing. It made it difficult.
Oh, yeah, and some of those, I haven't hit one of them in a really long time, but you actually take a torch, burn it, sand it, spray shellac on it, then finish it, and you won't have no problem. Nothing will come back up. But that's probably the hardest part, is just dealing with all the sap, getting it cleaned up.
Is it shellac's the answer, right? Like an alcohol-based primer or sealer?
Oh, yeah.
Zinsser.
It just stops it. It's not going to come through whatever finish it is at that point.
Is it smarter to go over the finals all with oil finishes, or can you seal it off with a shellac and then pop it with a water finish, or is it better to stay oil?
I haven't used shellac on a certain area in a long time. We haven't had any kind of issues here lately, but I mean, we still use a lot of water-based products on part pine because people really like the natural look and keeping that look now.
Yep.
That's really gotten big around here. They want it as light as possible and where it doesn't turn so red. So
20 years ago, everybody said water-based is, junk. And the stuff I used was terrible. And in the last probably 15 years, that's tapered off. But if you're bad-mouthing water-based finish today, you got to start over. The stuff I'm seeing is so impressive. The invisible and raw and all these things and the mattes and the satins are amazing. I did some sample boards a few weeks ago, and the photos, they're not even good enough to put in the magazine. I'm like, wow, this should look pocked. We used a roller. It should look terrible, and it looks better than factory sprayed. They're amazing.
Yeah, I would have said the same thing back up 15 years ago when we were starting to really try to switch over to water-based finish. And I remember telling Dad, I said, if we ever got to switch over, we got to use this all the time, I said, I'll quit. I'll go find another job. I can't keep doing this. It was a nightmare. But now it's after finally, the products obviously have improved tremendously in appearance, usability, everything. All the way around. But yeah, now if I had to go back to oil-based finish, I'd probably quit and go get another job.
But when they switched over to the VOC laws, it was funny because we used to get big 5-gallon pails. All of a sudden, the manufacturers, we weren't buying 5-gallon pails of poly. We were just buying the empty 5-gallon pail because guys had to have quarts, and they were not going to water-based. And they would have one kid sit there all day with like an egg beater, do a quart, put it in the thing, make a 5-gallon pail, which is probably illegal too. But they're doing anything they can, and eventually they'd pick up. Think about it. They wouldn't spend $30 on a gallon of oil-based finish. That was expensive. But they'll spend $150 now on 1 gallon of water-based because it's just that good. And it's durable as hell. Do you ever have to refinish pre-finished floors?
Oh, yeah, we're starting to hit those a lot more now. So before, a couple of years ago, we'd hit one maybe once a year. Now it seems like we're doing once a month at least. Last one we just did was a maple job. Again, sanded with nothing but a power drive, and they're diamond pucks on there. So
wow. I saw something that you posted online, and this one was in Wood Floor Business Magazine, and it was kind of cool. I think it was white oak. It looked like you were refinishing a floor that had wind shake in it, and you were using the rotary machine, and somehow you blasted the rotary disc paper into the floor, out of the floor, and it was still stuck in the floor, and it didn't damage it.
That was in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and that was a heart pine floor. So you get to them old heart pine floors, there's always going to be loose boards and everything else. Problem is, you just don't know where they're at.
Right.
But that sandpaper machine's going to show you exactly where every one of them is at.
That was crazy. If people go online and look at it, you see half of what was it, that 6-inch disc, maybe, or is it 7?
Yeah, it come right off a power drive too, and just slid right
into
up
the
underneath.
wood, out the other side, and it's stuck half and half. Like you could probably pull that out, put some glue in, and press on it, and let it sit there for a while.
Sure did. Didn't even damage the board or nothing else. So got the piece of paper out, went back to normal, glued, and everything was fine, like it never happened. So
I don't know if I've ever had anything cool like that happen. We did find a piece of cherry once, and we went to put it in the miter saw and cut it. There's a bullet in the middle of it. I'm looking at the tongue and groove. I have a picture of it. I'm like, what is that? It doesn't look like bark. And then I said, it looks like metal. I got my floor inspection kit. I put the metal thing went off. And it was actually a bullet that must have been shot into a tree. And it was lead, so the cutters blew right through it. Not a problem whatsoever.
Oh, I haven't had much luck with any bullets. I did one before. I had a shotgun shell plugged in the floor. They was filling the hole. I sanded around it because I didn't know if it was still loaded or not, and I couldn't get it out of the floor, so I didn't want to sand over it, heat it up. So we wasn't going to find out.
Is it a little different down there? It seems to me that we have a problem up here with humidity in the summer, but you must have that a lot more often than we do, especially with worrying about flooring cupping or bending or warping.
Oh, yeah, we got humidity pretty much all year. Not as bad in the wintertime, dries out, but summertime it's just awful. So it's kind of comical. You get into the old heart pine floors that have been there, been in homes that have been flooded twice, 4 feet up the walls. Heart pine floor is still perfectly good shape, because those floors won't take on but so much water. It literally cannot take on no more moisture at a certain point and just stops. And once they dry out, they're like perfectly fine again. And then other ones, they barely get damp and then they're ruined, like an oak floor or something else. But yeah, moisture mitigation is kind of a really big thing here, especially on the newer builds. Not really concerned on it on the older homes, like in the 1800s.
Right.
For some reason, they just were built really to last. And those floors are different. They're 1 1/8 inch thick, so it's not like 3/4 inch material.
Right. Do you guys have any of the top nail material? We have it in Boston, but other than that, no, we don't have it.
Very rare. I had one a couple years ago. I had to restore top nail parquet floor just on the main level. And that was the first one I had hit in quite a few years. It literally had the cloth back on the back of it. Wow. Once I pulled it up. And I had to get old reclaimed material and then top nail it back just so it would match to everything else.
So is the majority, like you said, it's all sand and finish? Or do you have your occasional? Do you book installs, or do you
We do. So very little to no pre-finish anymore, it seems. But if we're installing, we're usually just installing like a bedroom or two, tying in with the rest, and then sand and finish it all. Every once in a while, we'll get entire homes to install sand and finish. But regular strip flooring is just a big thing here. A lot of people want the plank and the wide width till you give them a price and they see all the work that's involved, between the roll-on moisture barriers and the glue assist or full glue and nail and sand and finish. And then the other just big thing probably the biggest thing for us is the older homes. Nobody wants to touch them or deal with the old floors. I mean, it really kind of takes a special person, I feel.
How long do you think you're going to be in this? Like, how long have you actually been in this right now in years-wise? We know you started really early. How many years have you been in it?
Well, if we just stayed straight full-time out of high school, I mean, we're coming up on 20 years. So by the time I'm around 40, I'll probably be ready to transition and make a move into something else. Not because I want to, but more because my body's probably going to force me. Yep. Which I'm still pretty good health, I feel. No knee problems, no back problems, nothing like that. If they make a tool that makes it easier, carrying anything up and down steps, whatever it is, I will buy it. No hesitation on that. But eventually, I'll have to do something else. So,
yeah, I know, right? It's funny. The people I talk to, myself included, you don't really get out of this. It's what we do. It's highly specialized. We're putting the most valuable piece of furniture in people's homes. You and I both know everybody on site's long gone, or they're having a cookout when they say, "Oh, there's our floor guys." It's the last thing, and that's what they spend a ton of money on, and everybody hates you. The painter's like, I've been here longer than you. Yeah, we know. Get out, painter.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of walk away from. Just one thing's really good at. Money's good. So control your own schedule. Do what you want. Work-wise, if there's a job you don't want to do, you don't have to do it. So a lot of people don't understand that either.
No.
If there's one you get a bad feeling on, walk away from it. Don't do it.
Yeah. Now, is anybody in your family coming up through the ranks? Anybody you know behind you coming up to do any of this?
Nah. So I've got one child. She's a daughter, so she wants to go be a nurse or a vet. I don't know. It switches every week, so I couldn't tell you what she wants to be. But right? She's got no desire to do floors or anything else. So I don't blame her or anybody else. It's not the easiest job in the world, but it's pretty fun. It's rewarding, especially with what we do, like in the older homes. Those are the ones I really like. Walk in, and I mean, you can't even tell there's hardwood floors underneath of it, and then just saving it and bringing it back. At the end of the job, it's like, wow, I really did something good here. So that's what I like the most of it. So before and afters.
What do you think this new crop of guys coming up through the ranks need to learn?
It's going to be tough to get anybody new into it. I mean, I don't know. Now it's just they push college this, college that so hard for years, especially when I was in high school getting ready to get out. And I mean, it's like everybody felt they had to go to college and nobody got into the trades.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what you do. It could be floors, masonry, electrician, plumber. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, you can make a damn good living out here in any of those, as long as you're willing to get up and go to work.
Yeah, I find that in different pockets of the country. Some places have a lot of craftsmen, and some people they got nothing. Like I said,
it's kind of funny you brought that up because I'm right in the middle. We got so many big factories around here for as rural as we are, and I can't figure out why, but we got Hershey chocolates. We got Hofstra makes medical supplies. We got Coors Brewing's here. We got a Walmart distribution center. We got Target distribution. I mean, the list goes on. All the humongous, and they just built an Amazon, distribution center here too. So, but they can't get nobody to work at these places.
No.
Yeah.
But something goes wrong in any place, coffee shop, restaurant. I try not to complain because somebody said to me, in the last few years, that person came to work. The other ones are so bad they didn't even bother to show up. And now this person's probably hasn't been trained well. It's probably not the job that they want. So, hey, they mess up your coffee, smile, and you move on.
Yeah, anymore, I don't really worry about it. I enjoy what I do, so we do as much as we can. If I keep doing it and Mom doesn't want to be a part of it no more, it's no problem. I'll just do what I can, and that's it. So
I'm just trying to think, how long is your mom been? I'm trying to ask you without saying how old is Mom, because then I will get the wrath of Mom. But how does she get dragged into this? Listen, my mom did a lot of things. She wasn't helping me with the floor.
Well, back in the day, we used to have a showroom and everything else, and had a bunch of crews and guys. We had 12, 14 guys. Like I said, we did everything and had the showroom. So she was always in the showroom and helping customers who would walk in or doing the books, phone calls at that time. Then as it kind of transitioned into it, she went to do something else for a few years, but got tired of that. And at the time, I was actually just working by myself, and then she ended up just quitting that job and coming back and helping me. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, even when you leave the flooring industry, somehow you always end up coming back to it. So, in some way, shape, or form.
Well, yeah, if I asked you how many people that you know that are friends or family have you done flooring for?
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh, I don't know.
How about in your neighborhood?
I don't live in a neighborhood, thank goodness.
I didn't think so. You're up there in the backwoods, hiding away, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how to use a shotgun properly? Do you have more than 12 of them?
We're not going to disclose that information.
I knew it. Good for you. I know where I'm hiding out. Yeah, well, I'm looking out my window. I'm looking up and down the street. I'm like, okay, I've been here 30 years. I did that house, ours, that house. The neighbors here. And, I'm sorry, I'm not letting another person do their floors. That would be ridiculous. Because I did have a friend of mine, they had a local guy that I know do the floors. And I shut my mouth for about 10 years when they asked me to redo the floor. And I go, this was never done right from the beginning. But you got a good price, didn't you? So I will volunteer to do. Like you said, you just can't help it. It's a particular skill. It's a craft that we have. I like to contribute, and I like to think I'm damn good at it. So I don't need somebody else in the neighborhood doing my work.
But yeah, it's always pointing out which house you did. Now I don't even have to do that anymore. My daughter, I've said it so many times to her. We'll ride by a house. Oh, look, there's the house you did the floors in. I said, yep, did the one beside it last week too.
See that? Yeah, sometimes you forget, right? I was at a party a couple Christmases ago. Some friend of a friend that said, hey, come on up. And I'm walking on smiling. And they go, what are you smiling at? I go, I did these 15 years ago. I go, I did. And by the way, this is my work. This has not been redone. And so then the people you talk to, they go, oh, I remember you. You're the guys that sing. Because we used to also sing in Florida. We would sing all day, crack jokes all day. We loved doing it. We had a really good time doing it.
Yeah, I've been on some I did, 10, 15 years ago. And then look at it now, and I'm wondering how in the hell did I ever get paid compared to the work that we turn out now, before planetary machines and things like that. But still in pretty good shape considering I've seen some others that are way worse than that. But it's man, just how much technology has helped and improved the work.
I'm thinking of giving you a few quick fire questions. This is how we do them. Kim gives me a series of little quick fire questions. We throw them out there for flooring people when we're wrapping things up. And you just kind of give me your shortest, close to one word answer on these things. And then we roll and we're good to go if that works for you.
Shortest one-word answers. All right.
It doesn't have to be, but you just give me an answer. I'll throw them at them. You answer the best you can. You don't need to elaborate. We're just going to roll through these. Are you ready?
I think so.
Here's your first question. What do you do during the day if you get a 5-minute break, or do you even take a break?
I don't even take a break. I don't even stop to eat lunch. We just work until we're done for the day. Go home.
What do you think the biggest issue is in hardwood flooring today?
The lack of new people getting into the trade.
Is there anything in your flooring career that you're most proud of?
Not yet. I got one more goal. I just want to get Floor of the Year one time, win it myself. I've helped quite a few other people get it and win it. That's the last thing I really want to do. So.
Good for you. a Lifetime movie channel makes a movie about your life, what actor plays you?
Oof. I have no idea. I don't feel like anybody even looks like me.
Yeah, they don't. You're too handsome for Hollywood. Hollywood, you gotta have a few quirks. You're a good-looking guy. How about, you got any pet peeves in flooring? Like, what really pisses you off?
My organized van. So if we had guys at the time, anything else, if it did not go back where you found it, that would really just stress me out. So
what would you have been doing if you didn't get in flooring?
no, probably military.
Yeah, good for you. If you ever do retire, what's the plan?
I would love to be a stay-at-home boyfriend, but I just got to find the right woman.
Hey, well, listen, we can work on that too. We got a staff over at Wood Floor Business Magazine. They're pretty good. We'll get them on this. They're pretty good about this stuff. They got our back, buddy. And Aaron, do you have, and I can see it in the background, do you have carpet anywhere in your home?
I have a rug. I have one rug in my entire house.
It's not like wall to wall. There's no tack strip, right?
No.
Oh, you're clean. You're good.
Gone. All gone.
You're good to
I
go.
tore all that up. I took all the wallpaper down. I bought this house. It looked like 1980 when I walked in here. Not anymore.
Well, listen, that's it. That's all we had. You nailed them. You're the quickest, shortest. You're number 2 next to Liz Emlock. Everybody at that, we could have wrote a novel over their speed fire questions, but we're getting there. We're getting better at this. Since you have TikTok influence and I've got my podcast, we're going to find a way to make ourselves better in social media very soon.
Somehow, some way. It always keeps growing.
Aaron Sheaves, Sheaves Flooring, thank you very much for hanging out with me.
Yep. Thanks for having me on here. Appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Take care. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of All Things Wood Floor, brought to you by Wood Floor Business. If you'd like to see some of the floors and take a video tour of the incredibly organized van that Aaron and Steven discussed, you can go to woodfloorbusiness.com and put Aaron's name in the search bar. And you can also check out the notes in the description for this episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to All Things Wood Floor.